Hey, this is John. I want to thank you so much for signing your copy of Mighty Doom, which is so exciting. What I'm really excited to do here is give you access to some of the top book reviews that I've gone through, and really, what's cool is with each of these book reviews, what I'm basically doing is I'm taking, give or take on average, like 8 hours of my time reading and really thinking about this book, and I'm compressing it down into just a very compact, concrete little video for you so that you can sort of get the big gist of everything that's actually in the book, and some of the really huge overarching concepts in it. But you can do it in a way that isn't going to take you like 5 months to read a bajillion books, because that's a tough thing to do, right? So that's kind of one thing I'm really excited about when I give you access to these book reviews, is actually getting a lot of this information condensed down, so you're not spending all the time I just spent reading all these books, learning the information in them. And obviously, there's a difference between a summary and the level of depth that you will get actually reading all these books. But hopefully, I can get you a good chunk of the way there, and also help you figure out sort of which books make the most sense to learn about. I remember I grew up, I absolutely hated reading when I was growing up. And it's weird because when I started, when I was really young, I was super into fiction novels and just reading for fun. But as I started growing older and older, I just sort of started to drift away from it. And I think probably one of the big reasons why is just because there were so many video games or stuff like that where it would take all my attention away from what actually mattered in my life and the direction or the force or really any actual reason to learn anything. I forgot to turn this light on. And so because of that, I just didn't really read a lot. But then I read 2 books that totally changed my whole life. The first one was Think and Grow Rich, and the second one was How to Win Friends and Influence People. And both of those books were absolute blow. They blew up my mind. They were crazy. I was like, holy crap, they changed my life forever. And because of that, I started getting back into books again. And what I realized was something that I never really understood growing up, and it only really applies to nonfiction. But it's the idea of you're not reading as much for entertainment, you're reading really to grow. And what I learned is that you could have 1, 2, 3, you could have maybe 9 books. And what's interesting is to say these 9 books are by 9 different authors. Each of these authors, more than often, and I kind of know this now that I'm an actual best-selling author, if you put literally years and years and years. So let's say that this first author he's a slacker, really puts 1 year into his book. This guy, the second author, maybe this guy puts 2 years into his book. This guy might put 3 years into his book. Maybe this guy puts 1 year. And this happens over and over again. And we'll say, on average, maybe this guy puts 4 years. I remember this book I read, and this guy put 8 years of his life into making this book, and I'm like, dude, holy crap! How do you do that? And it's pretty crazy. I mean, writing a book is very interesting. There's an easy way to do it, and there's a hard way to do it. So there's, oh my gosh, so a lot of writing. I actually have been learning a whole lot more about the easy way to do this. But it's kind of more of something that goes more into business assets, which are something that we'll get into a little bit deeper as we get into the implementation coaching program. But basically, you just get somebody to write your book for you, but you do it in a way where they're not actually writing it, you're actually writing it, and it's pretty basic, it's pretty dope. But it's not really what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on here is the combined amount of knowledge here is basically, say on average, someone spends 2 years writing. This is maybe 18, 20 years of accumulated knowledge, accumulated information. And for most people to actually get 20 years to get all this information, it would take 20 years of just trying things on your own or trying to do things by yourself and just doing it without any help. And because of that, it's tough to learn all this stuff, and it depends obviously on what you want to learn about. But for me, you learn so much from a book, and say it maybe takes you a week to read this. Maybe let's say you're slow and it takes you a week to read these books. Maybe you're super slow and it takes you a month to read all these books. I mean, that's 9 months tops for me. I read a book in a day. I read a book every other day or something odd like that. And so 9 months, if you're really passionate and you really focus on it and you really put your time aside, you can do, I try to get about 3 to 5 books a week in, and all you do is you put in the time to read. But let's say you're super slow. Let's say that you can only do a book a month, and you can't do maybe 10 or 20 books a month, and takes you 9 months to do this. Like, you're still saving 19 years of time that would have otherwise been wasted actually trying to learn it on your own. And so what's cool is, as you start to understand this concept, that you can leverage, this is the big thing, right, is that you're leveraging others' time. When you leverage others' time, what happens is something really interesting. You start to actually get results as if you were that person, but you're not actually starting from the bottom. See what happens, like for instance, I started off with no knowledge, no understanding of all the financial markets, no understanding of investments whatsoever. I started out here at ground zero, and my results were not tons and tons of money at the beginning. I promise you that. They were very, very meager. And I spent so much time learning. Then I wrote my book right here. And what's cool is this is the exact same process that almost every author goes through. Is they spend all this time, all this energy, all this effort learning, trading thousands of stocks, doing whatever they have to do to actually get to the point where they can write a book. And then they write their book. And then after they write their book, what happens is something really interesting. You can totally skip all of this time and instead spend a tiny little fraction of it actually reading their book. And then you can start out, not at the bottom, but you can start out all the way up here and just start getting results instantly and start having the outcome that you desire immediately. And that's a much easier way to do it. That's a much more effective way to do it. When I started out investing, nobody had a really great investment book. Nobody had a path. Nobody had a method. Nobody had a system. Nobody was teaching this stuff. And so I had to do it the hard way. What's cool though is you can do it the easy way. And it's the same thing not just with investing, but anything that you want to do. So what I want to give you with these book reviews is sort of a base. I want to give you a core. I want to give you sort of the tools and the resources that I've personally used in the books I've gone through because they've changed my life. And I think that if you go through them too, they should totally change your life too. But also, you can expand this to other things you're interested in. Maybe you aren't as interested in building assets. So I'm just like freaking out. All I do is assets. I love assets. My favorite thing ever. Maybe you have some other interest, other thing you're interested in. So you can read books about that, right? And what it will allow you to do is skip all the grunt work and just start off right here. It doesn't matter which book you're reading. Each of these authors has put in so much effort, so much work, so you can start off with an understanding sky high above a huge proportion of the population. And I mean, the more books you read, like the more skills you're gonna have, the more knowledge you're gonna have, and you can start applying, turning it into actual results. And so that's kind of the big reason that I'm really excited to share with you this concept, share with you all these book reviews, because every single person I know, every uber successful person I know, like they always say that to increase the amount of money you have, to increase your net worth, to increase the respect that you have, to increase your happiness, it all just comes down to reading. And if you can read more, you can be more. If you can be more, you can achieve more. And like I've never, ever met somebody with a bank account with over 9-10 figures in it that says that somebody should read less. Ever. It's always been reading is critical, reading is crucial. And what it does is it allows you to learn what you actually want to learn without having to go, like if you read a book on psychology, if you read a book on economics, if you read a book on marketing or something, you can learn what somebody might learn over the course of years in a traditional education system in a fraction of the time. And the reason why, and it might not be the same depth, but you can learn the concepts, you can learn the core, you can learn the foundation. And honestly, a lot of the times you can learn more than actually is in the normal system. And a lot of these books, I mean, especially some of these investment books, asset books, they literally teach more than I've ever seen taught anywhere personally. And I've gone into business schools, I have gone into college, I have gone into tons and tons of classes on investing, tons of classes on personal finance, tons of classes on marketing, tons of classes on business, like actual classes. And I have never seen the quality of education taught that I have seen in these books that are in these book review videos. Never seen anything as high quality. It just personally is in what's not new because people are teaching stuff usually in the normal education system that's like teaching you how to actually go work at a bank, not how to make insane amounts of money for yourself sitting at home on a computer trading stocks. And so that sort of is a different reason that they teach it. Because of that, they get different results that maybe aren't as effective. And so the really huge goal here, the foundation, is I want you to figure out, maybe you have these sum out how many book reviews there are, maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these books that would be really, really useful this month. And then you get them, and then you read them. And then you're like, holy crap, that was awesome. And then you get another couple of books, maybe 4 books. And you're like, okay, let's go through these this week. And then you get them, and then you read them, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And then you reflect on them, and you apply what you learn in them, and you get more results. You get better and better and better and better results. And that's really the key. That's the foundation. That's the core concept that I'm really, really excited to share with you with these book review videos, because I know that this information will literally change your life. I know Buffett, he will literally read 600, 700, 800, 900 pages a day because he wants to understand exactly what's going on. He wants to have the information. He wants to have the knowledge base. I know Elon Musk, he literally learned how to build rockets by reading books, because really everything that you want is in a book. I remember I was watching this giant conference by Grant Cardone, and he's got 500 books behind him, and he's putting these books, and he realizes that every single thing he ever learned, or ever needed to learn, or ever wanted to learn, or ever even remotely used in his business, in his companies, and with his investments, they all came from books. Because in reality, you've got literally centuries of information compacted into little tiny pieces of paper you can flip through super, super quickly that people have literally spent lifetimes accumulating the knowledge for and putting into text. And you can learn all of that in an instant. You can achieve the understanding of somebody's entire life work in a freaking afternoon if you decide to speed read a little bit. And really that's the core, and that's pretty much the basis of this concept, is reading has literally changed my life. My income before reading, my income after reading are just uncomparable. There is a massive separation between when I started actually reading books and afterwards. And the results, I hope you can have the same results by going through similar books or going through books you're interested in, because they will change everything. So with that said, we had a ton of out of this module. Go out there, apply it, get these freaking books, go through these book reviews, learn the concepts in them, and achieve the results. And with that said, there's one last thing that I want to tell you. There's one last thing I want to go through with you. And the reason why is because when I was starting out, I would read and I would read and I would read. It would take me like 12 or 14 hours to read a book. And that's a lot of time. And not a lot of people have that much extra time. And so because of that, it was always kind of difficult for me. I remember I would literally spend an entire month reading one of the books on here called Tools of Titans. It's a pretty freaking big book. And it changed my life. It was literally one of the best books I've ever read. It's insane. But it took a really long time to read. And so what I wanted to do real quick is just give you a couple of tips, a couple of tricks that I've personally used to help really, really increase my reading speed without necessarily compromising comprehension. These are a couple of tricks that I learned from Howard Burr. He's the world's fastest speed reader. I would definitely recommend. He's got some amazing stuff about how to speed read. But basically, I want to give you the core and kind of give you the top 3 things you can apply so that when you do get these books, you can actually go through them a little bit faster and not really waste your time by reading really, really slowly. And so with that said, there's also another book in here, the 4-Hour Work Week, and you'll see that review. It also has a whole section on speed reading that would actually be phenomenally helpful. I'm going to cover kind of everything there real quick because I think it would really help you. So with that said, I'm going to grab this whiteboard. Awesome. So really what the first thing that most people struggle with, and that I really took a while to get over, but once I understood how to get over it, it was super easy to get over, is most people, when they're reading books, what they do is they say the words, and they say them in their mind. They have this little voice in their head that actually says every single word as they go over the page. And what's interesting is, if you think about an audiobook or a video, you can play this video at 2 times speed. You can read an audiobook at 2 or 3 times speed. And the reason why is because your mind can process information faster than you can actually verbally say it. And so what stops a lot of people from reading really quickly is they go through a book and they go through line by line by line by line by line, and they go through every word and they try to read every single word in their mind, in their mind's voice. Now you might not be reading out loud, but in your mind, as you see the word, you're saying the word mentally. And what that does is it really, really, really slows down your reading, and it really is probably one of the biggest things that holds most people back from reading quickly. So the first thing you have to do is you have to read by seeing, not by hearing. And the way you read by seeing is you have to make a conscious effort to just not say the words that you're seeing, not say the words that come off the page. So if, say I've got this page, right, and instead of like reading John Doe went to the store, you want to just look at it and go through it like this. And one thing that can help you is if you want to use your fingers and you want to kind of guide your hand through it, that's a really great technique. Basically, the core is that you want to stop your voice, turn off your mental voice, and use sight seeing and only see the words, only sight read the words, and only see them with your eyes, because your mind will process them, but you don't have to say them. So the first step is to stop saying the words, and instead look at it as a sight. Look at it only by sight. Only look at the words by sight. And the second thing that's really important is to understand that the majority of what you read is not really what you actually have to go through. All you really have to go through is a minority of the content, because if you have an entire page of text, there's a minority of that content that actually matters. And usually this is stuff like nouns, right? This is stuff like who, what, when, where, why. It's like the 4 W's or the 5 W's. Like, what are the really, really important factors that are in the page? So what you want to do is, instead of trying to read every little article or every little word, like if you just cut out the ofs or the thes or the a's in a book, you would really have a very, very, very similar book. And obviously it wouldn't look grammatically correct, but the reading on it would actually make a whole lot of sense. So what you want to do is you want to focus on the really, really big words. And so the way you do that is pretty simple. All you do is you look for it. So you might have lines and lines and lines of text, but all you really want to do is you want to look for the really big words. And what that's going to let you do is actually really powerful, and it's twofold, but it leads us into what the next really important thing is, which is read both ways. Because most people, they only read left to right, at least in America, right? So because they only read left to right, at the end of this line, they have to go all the way back over here, and then they have to go all the way back over here. And that takes time, right? That's a process that is that's time consuming, and it's wasting almost half of your reading time, because you're spending half of your time just going back on the page instead of actually just reading, not only reading, stop, and that's a lot slower. And so what you want to do once you understand, and once you start just visually focusing on the really important parts of the text, then what you want to do is pretty simple. All you have to do is read from left to right and from right to left. And at first, it's going to sound weird, it's going to feel weird, it's going to look weird, but really all you want to do is you want to drag your hand to the right, and then drag your hand to the left, and drag your hand to the right. And we're not going all the way to the edge of the page here. We're going to about, a quarter in here, a quarter in here. You want to go a quarter. You want to drag your hand back and forth and use your hand as a guide to actually guide your eyes. You want to make your eyes follow kind of the tip of your hand, and your hand will actually guide you down the page slowly, or whatever comprehension speed you're comfortable with. And as you go down, you only want to focus on the big nouns, the big verbs, the big who, what, when, where, why, how. You only want to focus on the big things, and you'll actually get about 95% of the information and 95% of the story, almost 100% of the comprehension by reading almost half of the text, maybe even 15 to 35% of the text. And so you'll read it much, much, much faster, but you'll get all the important information out of it. And really the core here is by focusing on reading both ways with important information, right? With important, who, what, when, where, why, what, or not what, but like the actual nouns and the verbs. Nouns, verbs, these are really what you want to be scanning for as you go from left to right, left to right, left to right, left to right. And that kind of segues us into our last point here. The last really, really significant reading factor is that you want to, and this is probably the most important one, read not with your eyes only, but read with your hands. Read with your hands. Because when you read with your hands, what it does is it turns reading from something that's passive, something that's like, you put a little bit of effort in and you kind of get a little bit out. It turns into something that's active, something that matters, something that you're actively involved in. And when you're actively focusing on something, you're going to go through it faster and you're going to get better results from it. And so as you're going through a page, right, say we have a page here, and then we have a page here, and then we have a page here, and then we have a page here. What you want to do is pretty simple. So with most books, right, they're like, this is why, by the way, physical books are really, really, really important, because you can't do this with digital books. It's significantly hard to do with digital books. Obviously, yeah, if you've got a screen, you can kind of put your finger and your hand on the screen, or you can do it with your mouse. But if you can do it with your mouse or if you can do what I'm about to teach you with your fingers on a Kindle or a screen or something, then all to you, power to you. That's awesome. I find it tougher, and I also, this is just kind of a sidebar, but something that's really important and allows me to get a lot more knowledge out of my books. And this is something that I really think everyone should do. And you have to get comfortable with it, but basically this only happens when you own the book. When you own the book, right, you own it, what you can do is you can take notes. And when you take notes, what it does is it drastically increases your comprehension. It significantly more involves you in the process, and what you write down, you remember. If I can't remember something, or if I need to remember something, if I just write it down on a whiteboard, if I just write it down on a piece of paper, and then I throw away that piece of paper, there's a significantly better chance that I will remember it because I actively engaged my mind in thinking about it and considering it. And I'm literally thinking right now, over the past week, there are about 17 new people that I met and 14 books that I got recommended, or authors I got recommended, or something like that. And because of that, like, I can't remember that crap. Like, that's a lot of stuff to remember. But I remember them. Why? I remember them because I wrote down these names on a whiteboard or a piece of paper, or I wrote down the names of these books on a piece of paper or on a whiteboard, and I just walked away from it. And solely because I remember of the act of writing it down, I remember the actual name, I remember the actual title, or whatever it is. And so writing stuff down in your book is going to be so huge. You got to do it by hand, and you want to physically write down your little notes. So you can write down notes on a section, circle a section, and write like, this is super cool. Or write down the action step to take. Like, I need to do blah, blah, blah to my portfolio. I need to, I don't know, wake up earlier. I need to take this supplement, whatever it is. And once you understand that, all of a sudden, it becomes so much easier to actually remember stuff without having to go and pick the book back up again, or having to go and read it another 5 times to actually get the information out of it, because you sped read it and you forgot everything. Because what you want to do is you want to go through it quickly, but you also want to get a really great understanding of it. And the way you do that is by taking notes and by physical notes in your book. And this is why I always buy copies of my books, because if I don't, I can't scribble all over them and make them a giant mess. And that's a really important thing for me. And the faster you get at writing your notes, the faster you can go through the book. So that's a really big concept. So with that said, let's go now to our third and final faster reading things. You want to read with your hands, right? So say this is our book, this is our physical book, and basically the strategy is you want to, I'm assuming you're right-handed, you're right-handed. If you're not right-handed, then you can kind of do the opposite of what I'm doing, or just do what I'm doing and see if it works for you. Just try it both ways. I don't really know, but most people are right-handed. I'm right-handed, so basically what you want to do is pretend this is a flat book, right? You want to have your right hand right here, taking up this page, right? And what's important is as you get better and better and better at reading quickly, what's going to happen is as you read with your hands, you're going to cover what are called chunks of text. So instead of going from line to 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 line, what you really want to get to is you're going, sentence to sentence to sentence to sentence. And what you really, this is the goal, this is where I'm at, and this is where you get to really quick reading speeds, is you go from paragraph to paragraph to paragraph to paragraph. So you go paragraph to the bottom to the right, paragraph to the bottom to the left, paragraph, and you want to make every movement of your hand on the paper one paragraph. And obviously you practice, and as you practice, you'll start to get to that point, you'll start to actually achieve that. And so that's really critical, that's important, is that you start out wherever your comprehension speed is, and you start to go faster, you go sentence by sentence by sentence, and you start to go faster, you go paragraph by paragraph. Really the end goal is paragraph by paragraph by paragraph. And once you get really, really great, you should be able to read about a page every 2 seconds. And again, that might sound intimidating, that might sound difficult. Just start off with what you're comfortable with right now, and just continually go a little bit quicker, back and forth, focusing on the really big words. Because once you do that, all of a sudden, it becomes way easier to actually go through a book, super quick. I remember I had about a 20-minute little break yesterday between classes and business stuff, and I went through the first 140, 160 pages of this book I had in my backpack. And the reason I'm able to do that is because I understand that I can go like this, and I can get all of the information from a book, or a vast majority of it, but I can do it much faster. And so that starts off with going from left to right, left to right, left to right, left to right, and then gradually going from line to line, to sentence, to paragraph, or whatever you're comfortable with in between. But really you want to try to go left to right, left to right. And again, you're going from the first quarter of the page to the third quarter of the page, to the first quarter, you don't go edge to edge, like that's too slow. You go quarter, 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 you go back and forth and back and forth. And so when you're doing that with the actual book, and you're going to be going pretty quick. Like I said, about 2 seconds a page is pretty quick. And so 1, 2, done. 1, 2, done. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Say this is a book like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, done. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, done. You're going to be going through a book pretty fast. And so one of the most important things you need to master, once you understand how to read with your hands, is how to flip the page and how to always be ready to flip the page. Because flipping the page is probably going to take about the same length of reading an entire page of text unless you learn how to do it the right way. And so what you do is you have your left hand that does the scrolling, and if you're on this page, say this is like a real book, right? And this side of the book kind of flips over if you don't hold it down. Usually what you do is you have your left hand like this, you have your right hand on the corner, and then as you get over to this side, you kind of have your left hand like this, and you're holding down this side of the book while you use your hand as a guide for what you're reading. And as soon as you're finished, take this finger right here, this right hand, you flip it over, and then you start reading instantly, and then at the same time you're getting the next page ready with your other hand, then you flip, and then you go and you're getting the next page ready, and then you get the next page ready, you flip, you get the next page, you're getting the next page ready, you read it, you read it, you read it, you flip. And so it's really important that you have sort of one hand that's always just flipping, and this is why you kind of need like a flat surface or a desk or something to read on. But what it allows you to do is I always have my pen in my right hand or a pencil or whatever, and so I'll be reading and I'll be circling stuff with my right hand, and then once I get sort of close to the bottom, and you'll get better at this as you get better at actually grabbing the pages, I'll really quickly grab the bottom corner and I'll flip it over. It doesn't really matter what corner you grab, just grab one of the corners and flip it over. And what it lets you do is you can read with your left hand visually by using your hand to read, and then with your right hand you can really quickly take your notes, scribble all over it, and then move on to the next page. And sometimes you might need to stop just to take some more intricate notes, and that's totally cool. But it works. It's a phenomenal system, and it works really, really, really well the moment that you have sort of reading by seeing, using your sight reading both ways on the most important words, and then you just have to use your hands, and you'll get better at it over time. So you don't have to start going like super quick, but just start, and this process will make it significantly easier to read significantly faster and maintain significantly more information. So it's a really amazing thing, and it's really changed my life. I remember probably the first 20 or 30 books on these review videos, they were all read the slow way, and they took forever to read. Then I learned how to read quickly, and I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. I'm saving so much time, and now I'm able to read so many more books. And now the limit isn't like how fast can I read books, the limit is how fast can I record these videos, right? So that's really the big takeaway here, and super cool stuff to learn. So with that said, thank you so much. I hope this empowers you to read more books so you can have more information, so you can create more wealth and have more abundance and success in your life. Go out there, apply it, absolutely crush it, and enjoy the book review videos. I will see you, I guess, in some of the book review videos. So thank you very much. Bye.